Senator Smith.
My question is to the Minister for Education and Training, representing the Minister for the Environment and Energy, Senator Birmingham. Can the Minister apprise the Senate of the importance of energy affordability and reliability for Australian families and businesses?
The Minister for Education and Training, representing the Minister for the Environment and Energy, Senator Birmingham.
Thanks so much, Mr President. I thank Senator Smith for his question on an issue of importance to Australian households and businesses and the Australian economy, which stands in stark contrast, Mr President, to every single question we've seen from those opposite today who are just interested in playing political games. Well, they can play their political games, but the Turnbull government will get on with ensuring that electricity prices are brought down so far as possible for Australian households and businesses, because we know that electricity prices put a real impact on the cost of living pressures for Australian households. We know they put a real impact on the competitiveness for Australian businesses, and that's why we're taking action that will drive down prices, improve affordability for millions of Australian households. The result of the different work with energy retailers over recent weeks by the Prime Minister and Mr Frydenberg will see more than 2 million Australian households clearly advised of the way in which they can access cheaper electricity in the future. This is cheaper bills for households that improve their cost of living circumstances. This will be reforms that aren't just the initial steps of the retailers committing through 2 different waves of communications with their customers to offer those cheaper rates and prices and ensure people understand it. But indeed it will also ensure that market rules, ACCC rules, communications in an ongoing basis with consumers empower them to make decisions that guarantee their prices are lower in the future. These are issues that are of genuine importance to Australian people. These are issues that matter in terms of their cost of living pressures, in terms of their household budgets, in terms of the viability of their businesses. And those opposite may not care. They might want to run political games in here, but nothing will distract the Turnbull government from our focus on helping them to get ahead and manage their cost of living.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Smith, supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Can the Minister outline what the Turnbull government is doing to ensure there is enough dispatchable generation in the energy system?
Minister.
Mr President, the Turnbull government is making sure that decisions around energy generation in the future are guided by engineering and economics, not by the type of ideology that those opposite like to play, not by the type of posture politics that many of the state governments like to play, but by real, sensible investments. Investments such as the Snowy 2.0 scheme, which will add 2,000 megawatts and 350,000 megawatt-hours of generation capacity, enough to power 500,000 homes. And Senator Carr says, when is it going to be built? Already there are 350 people employed working on this project. Already 350 people who are making a contribution to what will be a massive energy storage that will ensure intermittent renewables become viable, that will be part of a more stable energy market in the future, that will guarantee we have a better functioning market, more affordable, more reliable for the future.
Thank you, Minister. On my left. Order. Order on my left. Senator Smith, final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Is the Minister aware of any risks to a reliable and stable energy system in Australia?
Order. Minister.
Well, thanks, Mr President. You know, it was with great surprise that I suspect many on this side of the chamber, looked this morning at the Financial Review and saw the headline, "Labor rules out energy deals with Greens." Well, that was news. It was news, of course, because here in the Senate we see what Labor does, not just what they say. We saw that earlier this year Labor voted with Green senators on a motion that said coal, and I quote, "has no long-term future in Australia." That sounded like a cosy Labor-Greens deal. Late last year, Labor co-sponsored a Senate inquiry with the Greens with the ambition, and I quote, "to encourage the retirement of coal-fired power stations." Another cosy Labor-Greens policy deal. The Labor-Greens inquiry even went so far as saying the question is not if coal-fired power stations will close, but how quickly. Well, Mr President, we know that contrary to what Labor might want to brief the media now, they will always be in bed with the Greens and always be a danger to affordable and reliable energy in Australia.
Thank you.